The story begins on Geonosis when Obi-Wan is captured by Count Dooku. Dooku, instead of torturing or threatening Obi-Wan, offers him a chance to see the truth. He explains that the Republic is under the control of a Sith Lord, Darth Sidious, who has been pulling the strings behind the scenes to orchestrate the Clone Wars. Dooku tells Obi-Wan that the Jedi are blind to this truth and that they are merely pawns in Sidious' larger plan. Dooku tries to convince Obi-Wan that if they join forces, they could defeat Sidious together and restore balance to the galaxy. Obi-Wan, despite hearing this alarming revelation, rejects Dooku's offer just as he did in the original timeline. However, as time passes, the seeds of doubt planted by Dooku begin to grow in Obi-Wan's mind. He cannot entirely dismiss the possibility that Dooku's words hold some truth, especially given how the war seems to continually escalate without clear reasons. Though he doesn't voice these doubts openly, Obi-Wan begins to quietly contemplate whether the Republic is being manipulated from within. Time moves forward, and events unfold as in the original timeline until Obi-Wan faces Maul again on Mandalore. During this confrontation, Maul kills Satine in front of Obi-Wan, crushing his spirit. In his anger and grief, Obi-Wan demands answers from Maul. He asks about Sidious, and Maul, seeing an opportunity to manipulate Obi-Wan, tells him that Sidious is behind everything. Obi-Wan, still shaken from Satine's death, asks Maul if this means Sidious is behind the Senate as well. Maul confirms this, further feeding Obi-Wan's growing doubts about the Republic's leadership. Obi-Wan begins to reflect on Dooku's warning once more. He realizes that if Sidious truly controls the Senate, the entire Republic may be under the influence of the Sith. These thoughts consume him, and he decides to take drastic action. Obi-Wan secretly reaches out to Dooku, seeking proof of Sidious's manipulation. Despite their history as enemies, Obi-Wan knows that Dooku may be his only lead in uncovering the truth about Sidious and his role in the war. After obtaining some proof from Dooku, Obi-Wan speaks to Yoda in private. He tells Yoda everything, from Dooku's initial revelation on Geonosis to Maul's confirmation of Sidious's control over the Senate. Obi-Wan explains that he believes Dooku's words and that they must work together to expose and defeat Darth Sidious before it's too late. Yoda, though conflicted, agrees with Obi-Wan's logic. The Jedi cannot afford to ignore the possibility that the Republic's highest authority is compromised. Yoda gives Obi-Wan his blessing to form a temporary alliance with Dooku, but only under the strict condition that no one must know the true reasons behind Obi-Wan's actions. To protect the plan and maintain appearances, Yoda publicly announces that Obi-Wan has lost faith in the ideals of the Republic and has defected to join the Separatists. With his new alliance, Obi-Wan and Dooku begin to formulate a strategy to defeat Sidious. They both know that confronting him directly in combat would be suicide. Sidious is far too powerful for them to defeat alone. Instead, they devise a more calculated plan. Dooku reveals to Obi-Wan the location of an upcoming meeting between himself and Sidious. Together, they will confront him, but to ensure their success, Obi-Wan will alert Yoda and request backup. He specifically asks for Anakin to join them, knowing that the two of them work well together and that Anakin's raw power may be enough to tip the scales in their favor. Yoda understands the risks, but knows that defeating Sidious is paramount. He informs Anakin of the entire plan and the true reasons behind Obi-Wan's defection. Anakin, though initially shocked, comes to understand why Obi-Wan had to make this choice. Anakin then asks Yoda for permission to bring Ahsoka along. Yoda hesitates, warning Anakin that this mission is extremely dangerous and that Ahsoka may not be ready for what lies ahead. Anakin, however, insists that Ahsoka is prepared and that he trusts her abilities. With the plan in place, they move forward. Dooku arranges his meeting with Sidious, and as planned, Obi-Wan arrives as well. Sidious, sensing something amiss, turns to Dooku with suspicion. "Why is Kenobi here?" he asks coldly. Dooku, without hesitation, ignites his lightsaber and declares that the time has come to end Sidious's reign. Obi-Wan, standing beside him, also ignites his lightsaber. The betrayal is complete, and now the fight for the fate of the galaxy begins. Sidious, a master manipulator, laughs in the face of this betrayal. He raises his hands, and in an instant, using the dark power of the Force, he hurls Obi-Wan and Dooku against the walls of the chamber with such ferocity that the stone cracks. The sheer power of the impact leaves them momentarily stunned, and Sidious walks calmly towards them. As they struggle to regain their footing, Sidious unsheathes not one, but two crimson lightsabers, the red glow illuminating his twisted features. With a predatory grin, he twirls his sabers and lunges forward. The duel that follows is unlike anything Obi-Wan has experienced before. Sidious is not merely a Sith Lord, he is the culmination of generations of Sith power, and he wields it with terrifying precision. His blades whirl through the air like streaks of deadly light, slashing with incredible speed and ferocity. Obi-Wan and Dooku, though highly skilled, are forced to fight defensively, parrying Sidious's relentless assault. The sounds of clashing sabers echo through the chamber, each strike accompanied by the crackle of energy as lightsaber meets lightsaber. Sidious attacks without pause, his strength seemingly limitless. Every movement is calculated to destroy, every strike designed to exploit the weaknesses in Obi-Wan and Dooku's defenses. He is faster, stronger, and far more ruthless than either of them. Obi-Wan feels the weight of Sidious' overwhelming power pressing down on him, his arms straining to keep up with the flurry of strikes. Dooku, too, is struggling, his age showing as Sidious relentlessly pushes them back. But just when Sidious seems to be gaining the upper hand, the doors burst open. Anakin and Ahsoka enter the fray, rushing to Obi-Wan and Dooku's aid. Sidious, sensing their arrival, pauses momentarily, a sinister grin forming on his lips. "More Jedi?" he sneers. "Good, more toys to break." With the addition of Anakin and Ahsoka, the battle escalates into a full-blown war of force and lightsabers. Anakin charges at Sidious with reckless abandon, his strikes fueled by raw emotion and power. His lightsaber slashes at Sidious with immense force, but Sidious is always a step ahead, deflecting Anakin's attacks with ease. Ahsoka, more agile, darts in and out of the battle, using her speed and precision to try and catch Sidious off guard. The fight is a chaotic storm of flashing lightsabers and force powers. Sidious deflects a strike from Dooku, spins around to block Ahsoka, then counters Anakin's furious assault with a blast of dark energy, sending him skidding across the room. Obi-Wan moves to intercept, his blade catching Sidious's in a dazzling display of sparks. Together, the four of them press Sidious harder than ever before, forcing him to retreat under their combined might. For the first time, Sidious begins to lose ground. His movements, though still fluid and precise, are not enough to fend off all four combatants at once. Slowly but surely, they push him back, until Sidious finds himself against the far wall, cornered. Obi-Wan, sensing victory, presses forward with renewed strength, his lightsaber cutting through the air in a powerful arc. Sidious blocks the strike, but his defense falters for just a moment. In that moment of weakness, Dooku steps forward, ready to deliver the final blow. "It's over," he says coldly, raising his lightsaber to strike. But before he can bring it down, Anakin's voice cuts through the air. "We can't kill him like this," Anakin protests, stepping between Dooku and Sidious. "He's the Chancellor. We need to take him alive." Dooku and Obi-Wan exchange a glance, knowing the truth. Sidious is Darth Sidious, the Sith Lord who has orchestrated the entire war. Leaving him alive is too dangerous. They must kill him now to prevent him from continuing his plans. But Anakin is resolute. He lowers his lightsaber and stands firm, refusing to allow them to execute Palpatine in cold blood. This hesitation proves costly. In the brief moment of indecision, Sidious seizes his chance. With a dark, triumphant sneer, he unleashes a sudden surge of force lightning, catching Dooku off guard. The Sith Lord is blasted across the room, his body slamming into the wall with a sickening thud, leaving him unconscious. Obi-Wan, realizing they are losing control of the situation, turns to face Anakin. "We have to stop him," he shouts, igniting his lightsaber once again. But Anakin, torn between his loyalty to the Jedi and his attachment to the Chancellor, refuses to budge. Meanwhile, Ahsoka, seeing Sidious rise to his feet, charges at him. Obi-Wan calls out to her, warning her not to go alone, but she is determined to stop Sidious herself. The battle rages on as both Obi-Wan and Ahsoka try to reason with Anakin, but nothing works. Sidious, sensing the divide among his enemies, takes advantage of the situation. With a sudden, vicious strike, Sidious lunges at Ahsoka, his twin blades slicing through the air. She fights valiantly, but Sidious is too powerful. In one swift move, he plunges both of his lightsabers through her, mortally wounding her. Obi-Wan and Anakin stop fighting, horror flooding their faces as they watch Ahsoka fall to the ground. Anakin rushes to her side, cradling her in his arms. Her final word is a faint, breathless "Anakin," as tears stream down his face. In that moment, something inside him snaps. Overcome with rage and grief, Anakin stands, his lightsaber igniting with a fury he has never felt before. Without hesitation, he launches himself at Sidious, attacking with a ferocity that takes even the Sith Lord by surprise. Anakin is relentless, his strikes fueled by the dark side. His raw power overwhelms Sidious, driving him back. For the first time, Sidious is on the defensive, his movements slowing as Anakin's anger grows. The battle is brutal, with Anakin's lightsaber cutting through the air like a force of nature. Sidious tries to counter, but Anakin's rage gives him the upper hand. In one final decisive move, Anakin slices through Sidious's defenses and decapitates him without a second thought. The galaxy is at peace, but the cost is immeasurable. Ahsoka's death weighs heavily on them all. Dooku and Obi-Wan return to the Jedi Order, knowing that the fight against the Sith has ended, but the scars of the battle will remain forever.